Of allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the clerk do the roll call, please?
Roberta Garlock. Here. Arthur Gilbert is absent. Bridget Hosky. Here. Stephen Idarola. Stephen Johnstone.
Here.
Tony Mancini.
Here.
Gail Tagliatella is absent. Leilani Perry.
Here.
And Chairman Arthur Kelly.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Here. And would you call the, read the call of the special meeting, please?
West Haven Charter Revision Commission legal notice agenda for public hearing. The West Haven Charter Revision Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, March 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 355 Main Street, West Haven, at which time any elector or taxpayer may have an opportunity to be heard regarding charter revision.
Thank you. And now we come to a public hearing section of our meeting. I'd like to just remind everybody, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. We're going to approve the special meeting minutes from March 19, 2026. Has everybody been able to look these over yet? If not, there should be a copy in front of you. And when you're ready, I entertain a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second, Steve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Unanimous. And now we come to the public hearing comment of our meeting. Just like to remind everybody, this is a Charter Revision Commission, and all comments need to be about charter revision. We'll give you 3 minutes to say your piece, and then the next person can get up and talk. Is there anyone in the public that would like to talk about charter revision? For the second time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to talk about charter revision? For the third time, is there anyone? You're after. Third time, is there anyone that would like to talk about charter revision from the public? Yes. Please state your name and address when you get up there.
Thank you for reminding me, because sometimes I forget. My name is Frederick Brown. I live at 100 Smith Street. I'd like to ask the commission to look at the definitions of alternate commissioner. Right now, the charter calls for alternate commissioners, but it doesn't exactly describe them very well. There's a need for alternate commissioners. Alternate commissioners are needed because, especially in planning and zoning board of appeals, people will bring attorneys with them. And you don't want to have to tell somebody that the meeting is canceled because there isn't a quorum, and yet they're paying an attorney. So I think there's a definite need for alternate commissioners. But we do need a better description or definition as to how alternate commissioners act. There is some confusion as to what their responsibilities are. When does the chairman appoint an alternate commissioner? Do they appoint an alternate commissioner when one regular member is missing? Or do they appoint an alternate commissioner when there is simply a lack of quorum? As a commissioner in the City of West Haven Fire Department in Allingtown for 13 years, I think we've only missed one meeting due to a lack of quorum. It would be unfair, I think, for an alternate commissioner to only be appointed when there's a lack of quorum. It should really be when a regular is missing. In addition, we don't define exactly what alternate commissioners do. If all 5 regular members are there, how does an alternate commissioner act? Do they participate in the meeting? And how do they participate in the meeting? Do they participate in executive session? Under Chapter 116, Title 8, Section 8-19A of the General Statutes of the State of Connecticut, it does define alternate commissioners as being permitted to be a part of the regular meeting and of executive session. So I would hope that the new ordinances will provide for allowing the alternate commissioners to be a part of a meeting, whether they're considered a regular or an alternate at the time. We need to just properly describe their roles. Alternate commissioners bring a lot of experience. In Allentown, we had an alternate commissioner who once served as a commissioner in West Shore, and they ran into a problem in West Shore that we were running into in Allentown. And with his experience, we were able to resolve the problem rather quickly, and rather than calling on the city attorney to give us an opinion, we already had a very good opinion. Some alternate commissioners serve longer than regular commissioners do for whatever reason. They never became regular commissioners. Their experience is very helpful to the commission. Again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I wish you well in your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? You're part of the officials. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? For the third and final time, is there someone from the public that would like to speak?
Good evening, Thomas McEwen from 23 Templeton Street. I am in support of the possibility of taking the 2-year mayor's term to go to 4 years. I think it's when a mayor first comes into office, they're getting settled in, and next thing you know, it could be a year later, you're thinking about campaigning to either to stay and have another term. So I think that's something that probably should be addressed. Along with that, there's many other items and sections of the current charter that obviously would have to be changed. A lot of the descriptions of the different seats and positions either say they run concurrent with the mayor or they say they're for a 2-year term. So each one of those, in my opinion, I would assume, are all going to have to be changed to say either to be concurrent with the mayor's term or a 4-year term. But there's one thing that kind of bothers me. The finance director, I should put it this way, anywhere with department heads, but particularly the finance director. The finance director actually says, well, I'm going to back up for 1 second. There's appointments and terms, section 3 on page 4. The mayor shall appoint all department heads, commissions, non-classified personnel, and other officers, employees of the city, except as otherwise specifically provided by this charter. And then it goes into and says, except as where otherwise provided for by statute or by this charter, the terms of all such appointees shall terminate on the same date as the term of the mayor. Meaning the finance director, correct me if I'm wrong, the finance director, there was discussion said to change it from the 2 years to the 4 years to bring in someone who would make more of a commitment to the city because it's a longer term. But the problem is they still have to leave after 4 years from how I read this. Because it could be a new administration comes in, just a new mayor comes in, could be with the same party, but just doesn't agree with that finance director. So I think if we want to have someone take ownership of the finance department, you need a long-term employee. And once you find that long-term employee, right, you want to hold on to them. And how you're going to judge them is either by the reviews, performance management, however you're going to do that. But rather than setting it to a 2-year term or a 4-year term, that's nonstop turnover. No one's taking accountability. They could be taking accountability. It just seems as if, same thing, as someone's getting comfortable with the books and how everything looks, they could be possibly leaving and someone comes in and has to come in and learn the system again and learn the background and the history to all of the different departments and how much monies have been spent or haven't been spent. So I think you should look into, in the last charter revision, I believe it was recommended that positions like that, right, we're going to be, have to be a person had to qualify by education and that same type of thing. That would be a performance management review in order to keep them in their position. But in my opinion, this constant turnover of every 2 years right now, a finance director could come in, could come in and have the possibility of being gone in 2 years. And I understand that that's difficult, but changing things from the 2-year to a 4-year term, right? Which I'm happy to have that happen or hear that that's going to happen. But you need to correct some of the positions that are here in order to be a better commitment and for people who have ownership of that position, whether it be finance, human resources, whichever those jobs are. It should not be connected, I think, to the term of the mayor. Okay?
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else that would like to address the commission? Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? For the third and final time, is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? Hearing none, we will move on to comments from the mayor, city council members, or other public officials.
Good evening, everyone. Ron Quagliani, 27 Downdraft Circle, 10th District Councilman. First off, thank you for what you're doing and what you're going to continue to do for the next couple of months. It's tedious work. It really is, but it's very important work to be able to take our organic document and be able to potentially make changes to make us more efficient as a community. A couple of recommendations that I have that I'd like to put in the record. For mayor, I am in favor of a 4-year term. The current 2-year term is too frequent. I believe the mayor's position should be changed to the 4-year terms to improve continuity and to allow appropriate time to adapt to the position, recruit and retain well-qualified professional staff, which would be more willing to accept positions if there's a guarantee of more than 2 years of employment. It's difficult to accomplish this under the current 2-year system. Also under that section, I'd recommend that we add a section for special election procedure. So should the mayor's position become vacant, that being a 4-year term, with 25% or more time remaining on the term, a special election will be held. If under 25% of the term remains in the current procedure, I think it's still appropriate. City Council, for all the reasons I articulated above, why we should have a 4-year term for mayor, who is full-time and leads the city and sets the vision, I'm less convinced about changing the council to 4-year terms. The council is not full-time, receives a small stipend, and does not need to recruit and onboard a team. A council person's duties and responsibilities are significant, with many nights spent at meetings and working regularly with their constituents to handle issues in their districts. It is a substantial commitment already, and my fear is that we already have a decline in the interest in public service. If we double this commitment to 4 years, the interest will likely diminish further. Many council members work full-time jobs outside of the council responsibilities, and asking someone to commit to 4 years will erode the pool of qualified candidates that may potentially want to serve their community but feel they can't commit to 4 years. Under budget, language changes have already been approved by the City Council to move the dates of the budgets till June, which will allow us a better opportunity to have a clearer numbers on the budget for state and federal grants that are being received. Contract approval authority. City Council should have approval authority for all executive level contracts for all city departments, including the Board of Ed, the Allentown Fire Department, and the water pollution, as well as all contracts that are 3 years in length or longer. Some mandates that are in the charter. I would remove the mandates that require certain positions. Operational standards change over time, and mandated positions in the charter should not be included. Remove mandates to have various departments. Business practices change, and having specific language as to how city departments should function would limit opportunities for greater efficiency. Under the Board of Ed shall function as any other city department does regarding financial processes, controls, and budget administration. Under boards and commissions, there should be an articulated process for removal of a board or commission member. Under auditor, the time frame should be a 3-year time frame unless otherwise approved by the City Council. Under finance, I think the language, as our last speaker came up, the finance director and department language needs to be reviewed and updated where necessary. Under city treasurer, the language needs to be reviewed and updated. Either we're going to have a ceremonial elected treasurer and modify the duties that are currently listed in the charter, or have a full-time appointed professional. Same thing with the tax collector, language change, either ceremonial elected and modify the duties, or a full-time appointed professional. The library, submit a certified annual audit and follow the same budgetary procedures as city departments, and all labor contracts for the library should come to the city council for review and approval. And lastly, in the charter, we need a section on administrative remedies for those who violate the charter. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Quagliani. You're up, Gary.
Gary Donovan, 26 Allen Street Extension, City Councilman for the 4th District. Congratulations to all of you. I don't know if that's a good thing, bad thing, but you know what you're in for. It is a short time. I probably should have went first because I think Ronnie stole my notes for the most part. The only difference I would have said was all elected officials go to 4-year, and it's just for monetary-wise, so that we're not having elections every 2 years. And the cost is not being put out there, but either way, I'm okay with everything. Looking at the Board of Ed as well section, maybe revamp that somehow. I didn't get to really read it as much as I wanted to, but we need to be to hold them a little bit more at bay and understand how their budgetary process goes, and show us what they actually really have out there. But other than that, Ronnie, you pretty much said everything I wanted to say plus. So thank you for your time and good luck. I know it's a short term doing this, but I think you guys got this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Chairman, members of the commission. Councilman Quagliani, by and large, I agree with pretty much everything that he said. So I just want to highlight a couple of notes. I am fully in support of a 4-year term for the mayor. I also think that we need to have a 4-year term that runs concurrently for city clerk, tax collector, if that's going to remain an elected position, the treasurer, and the Board of Assessment of Appeals. I don't believe that any of those should be either remain on 2-year terms or be on off term from the mayor. I really have not formed a personal opinion for the city council. I could see the pros and cons of staying with 2 years, 4 years concurrent with the mayor, 4 years off term with the mayor. I could see the pros and cons of all that, so I'll leave it all to you guys to figure out what's best. My only concern with not having 4 years concurrent with the mayor is West Haven, as I'm sure you know, historically has pretty low voter turnout, especially in certain districts. So I don't know how we balance not having a top of the ticket for the city council to ensure that enough people come out and exercise their right to vote. So that way we have a good election, especially when we have been heavily favoring one party for decades. How is that going to work when the mayor's presumably going to support that party? So just things to keep in mind for that. I agree that there needs to be something in here for ramifications for not following the charter. My recommendation is a couple years ago, we developed a very comprehensive code of ethics that's now an ordinance. I would suggest that perhaps that we take a look at that and see if there's something that we could put in there. That way it could remain a bit of a fluid situation, and it's more easily amendable than the charter. So we could reference the code of ethics, and then any issues with charter compliance we could put in there. Chapter 3, Section 3, appointments by the mayor. Speaking about what the gentleman said for department heads and not having terms, all department heads are essentially the mayor's cabinet, and they serve at the pleasure of the mayor. So having a contract or a position that exceeds the term of the mayor may be problematic for the incoming mayor. If we're going to do that, and the incoming mayor is not going to have an opportunity to replace the person, then I think that we need another layer of vetting and approval for a person that's going to have that kind of job security. So if we're going to go down that road, I would recommend the city council has to approve the appointment, just like on boards and commissions. I'm personally not in favor of that approach. I think that department heads should serve at the pleasure of the mayor. And right now, yes, the terms run concurrently, but I don't know of the last time that an incoming mayor has immediately replaced a department head. There's always going to be, I think, a gap period just by necessity until they get somebody that they want. I believe I have personally received conflicting opinions from prior corporation councils on whether or not the mayor has the authority to remove board and commission members. I think that needs to be clarified with corporation council, and it should be spelled out in the charter that if the mayor does have the authority, that the mayor does have that authority. I believe the mayor does, but I have had a corporation council in the past tell me the mayor does not. So I think that should just at least be looked at and clarified. Chapter 3, Section 5 for the annual report. I don't remember the last time that this was actually done. I'm not a believer that we have anything in governing documents that we don't do. So if it's not going to be a standard practice, get rid of it. If it's going to be in there, then I think that it should be followed. Chapter 4, City Council. I think that we should review the language in ordinances about contract approval and codify that contracts, including Board of Education contracts and WPCA contracts, as Councilman Quagliani said, require City Council approval in accordance with all of our other ordinances and charter sections that require City Council approval for contracts. In Chapter 4, Section 2, City Council organization, I think that we should, right now it requires a vote of the City Council to elect a acting chairperson if the chairperson is unavailable for a meeting. Traditionally, that is the majority leader, so I think that we should just change it to follow what's been happening forever. Chapter 4, Section 4, City Council Clerk. I would like to add language that it spells out precisely what the City Council Clerk does administratively. I would like to add language that could be the City Council Clerk or designee. We've had a paid employee as the admin for several years, and I just want to make sure that it is understood that if the chairperson's required to do something or the City Council Clerk's required to do something, that it can be designated to the paid administrative assistant. That way, because right now it doesn't read that way. Section 4, Chapter 4, Section 7, the passage of ordinances. I would like to consider adding language that the clerk or the designee, i.e. the City Council admin, does the work to publish the public hearing notices. Chapter 4, Section 9, City Council investigations. I'd like to add that commissions and individual employees, not just officers, is included in the definition. Under Chapter 9, Board of Ed, I think we need to strengthen the language that it must report all finances, transfers, etc. to the mayor and to the City Council in the same manner and on the same timeline as all other city departments. Chapter 17, Code of Ethics. A couple of years ago, the Board of Ethics prepared a comprehensive ordinance that is our entire Code of Ethics. It is much more expansive than what is in the charter, so I think the charter should actually be simplified and just create a Board of Ethics and give it its authority, and then reference the code ordinance as the governing document for that. And Chapter 19, Section 4, City Council budget duties. I have never been a fan of when a city council cannot approve an operating budget that the mayor's budget goes in by default. I think that we should look into that, whether it's a referendum or I don't know what other municipalities do, but perhaps just look for alternatives. Because if you just get a gridlocked council and they put in a lot of hard work, you could have 2 weeks of hard work go out the window. And there's a reason why they voted to have some changes. So I think that there needs to be another opportunity, an extension, something. I'm not really sure what that is. And I think that's it. I thank you all for your time. We're asking you to do 18 months of work in 18 weeks. It's a tall order, but I have confidence that you all are up for the task, and I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sure,
can we?
absolutely. Who would like to go next? Mayor?
Okay, thank you. I too want to thank you again for all the hard work that you're doing and all the time that you're committing. Um, these are in no particular order, but this charter is my Bible. Every day, every time I do something, I still refer back to it just to make sure we're following it and we're in compliance with the law. So start with the 4-year term. There's been a lot of discussion about that. I just want everybody to remember it's not about the person, it's about the position, right? And what's best for the city. And I think for the stability of the city, there needs to be appointments where they feel comfortable that they're going to have a little bit more of a duration of their employment. I hear that all the time because I'm recruiting top candidates for positions, and one of the first things they ask me in the interview is, "So what are you thinking? Are you going to run again? Are you, what's going on?" And I know they're trying to gauge whether they want to take that chance and come work for a place that they have a 2-year commitment to. Because if somebody isn't the mayor in 2 years, typically you want to bring your own people in. You should keep somebody on staff if they're really good, but that doesn't always happen. And I will tell you from personal experience, serving as mayor and running an election is 2 full-time jobs, right? And it's very difficult. So I have nightly meetings. I'm probably out at nightly meetings 4 nights a week for the city. And then when you have to campaign, you're trying to balance that out. Something's going to give. I was very fortunate not to have an opponent in the last election, but we had 22 other candidates running, and I wanted to be there for everybody that was running for election. And so that was every night, every day. And it takes away from the time that you should really be dedicating out there at night, networking and meeting with folks and, working on the city. So a lot of the other cities have turned to 4 years, a lot of the larger cities. I talked about how New Haven and Hamden both changed from a 2-year to a 4-year, which caused a bit of a challenge for us. And I understand it's only human that you want to go for that security and more money to another city. Also, what everybody touched on, a couple of speakers touched on some of the other items that I had on as well, special election procedure. So if it does change to 4 years, you want to make sure there's a safeguard in there. So if somebody leaves, are you going to have a special election, or are you going to, amongst the council, select maybe somebody from the council to serve in that role? So who's going to serve out that term? We have that now for 2 years, whether you have a special election or you have somebody, I think it's a city council chairperson, that takes over if there's less time. The budget, so we've just passed a couple of ordinances that change the budget timeline to conform with the state budget timeline. So our budget timelines are very restrictive. We have to hand in our budget. We start in January. You're only halfway through the fiscal year, so you don't really know what the budget to actual is. So it's very hard to gauge and put a budget together when you don't have, good idea of what your projection will be at the end of the year. So I think if we put general language in there, somehow balance it out, that indicates because the state funding is our biggest source of revenue. So something that indicates align with the state budgeting timeline. Now, there's 2 different timelines at the state. There's a short year, which we're in now, so they have to pass the budget by May 5th. And then there's a long year, which is next year. It's every other year. It's be June 9th. That's going to be a little too late for us. So we got to figure out what wording would allow the city to wait for state funding before the budget is finalized, so it's not a guessing game. So we could work on that language. Contract approval, yes. We have that in place today, that the city council has to approve a contract if it's 3 years or more. I think we should put a dollar amount threshold in place. Marb was 50,000. That was very, very cumbersome. We don't want to go. We sign $50,000 contracts all day long. We certainly don't want to have to wait every 2 weeks until there's a council meeting. But I think we come up with a high threshold that it has to go before the city council. Today, I have something, we call it a page 9. That's our nickname. I don't sign a contract unless the page 9 is on top of that contract and the legal department signs off on it and the finance department signs off on it and the department head signs off on it. So when I first got here, there was contracts coming to me. Is the money there? Is it a legal contract? Did the department head review this? So I don't sign until all 3 of those signatures are in there. So I think we might want to put something like that in the charter as well. Mandates, Ronnie mentioned mandates. I think we just, for some departments, say that will align with state statute because the names sometimes change and the requirements of the department. Treasurer, I go a little back and forth on, right? So do you want to have a treasurer that's outside, that's an elected person, that's a second set of eyes that's looking at all the checks? Or do you want to have somebody who's internal that knows what those checks are for? Kind of go back and forth on the pros and cons with that. So thinking that one out, but something to look at. So let's talk about Board of Education. I also, as the previous speakers, believe there needs to be clarification with respect to the Board of Education. So there's very specific guidelines in state statute with how the Board of Education should pass their budget, publicize their budget, provide their budget to the mayor, and post different aspects. It's all about transparency and accountability. And there's also aspects in the charter that the Board of Education should be following. So some of those are, I just mentioned, supporting the posting the budget to actual report, providing it to me, so that I could get a feel for where they stand. Posting things online. You're even supposed to file the superintendent's contract online within a certain time frame after it was signed. It has to go to the town clerk and then it has to go online, right? We have to put everything on our website so that people know what's going on with their public dollars. So that's not always all of that is not always being followed. So rather than putting more aspects in the charter for the Board of Education, we already have those aspects and they're not always being followed. So what do you do? So Chris, Councilman Vargo mentioned, well, we have a good ethics, right? Code of ethics that were put into place. And yes, we want the Board of Education to follow the code of ethics as well. I think the issue is, though, it's not clear in the charter that the Board of Education is a department. So the Board of Education is a department of the city. The city provides funding to the Board of Education, and we are restricted by state law for telling the Board of Education how to allocate that funding. We are also restricted from hiring a superintendent. That is the Board of Ed's role. Everything else should fall as a department. So any contracts that are being negotiated should be coming before the city council. Checks and balances, procurement, all of those, budgeting aspects should be coming before the city council and before me. The issue is I don't think it's always recognized that Board of Education is a department, and it is a department of the city. So I think we already have a code of ethics in place. We already have aspects that everybody should be following in here. I think the clarification you need to make up front is what is a department in the city, right? So is the library department or isn't the library department? Is the Board of Education, we know it is a department. I think you need to say that. So once you say up front in the charter, the Board of Ed is a department, then everything else in the charter that talks about the department should do this and the department should do that, it'll all fall into place. Does that make sense? Okay. So I think that will help. The code of ethics that Councilman Vargo put together with former Councilman Pascal was very good. The state approved it. The state actually applauded that. The city council fills out ethics forms. All of our city employees, when they're hired, fills out an ethics form. That's not happening on the other side of the equation. And that's critical, right? We want to make sure everybody knows what the code of ethics are and everybody's following the code of ethics and everybody signs off that they know what they are. Let's see, what else? The boards and commissions. So we have a few boards and commissions that are responsible for the hiring, the discipline, and the termination of employees under their purview. So for example, Fire Commission, Police Commission, ERS Authority. And that is by resolution. I think we need to put something in the charter that requires, before those actions are taken, we want to allow them to take those actions. That is the role of the commission, that they need to consult with a personnel director. And if that personnel director, he or she, is vacant for any reason, that you need to consult with a professional labor attorney, because labor laws change continually, right? And you want to make sure that you're hiring properly. You're not saying anything you shouldn't be saying. You're not asking for information you shouldn't be asking for. You want to make sure the termination, you're following the contract rules, you're following state law with respect to labor rules. And, the commission's not always up to breast on everything that's changing in the labor world, right? And all the requirements for labor law. So I think having the professional personnel director who is trained in how and what to ask in a hire, and how to proceed with a termination or a discipline is critical, because we have had some gaps where some mistakes, not intentional, have been made, and at the end of the day, if those mistakes are made, that can cause a lawsuit for the city. And even though I am not responsible for those hirings and disciplines and terminations, I'm going to be responsible for what happens, what the ramifications are, right? We all are going to be as taxpayers. So I just think it's a better safeguard to require a little bit more of that input from a personnel director. The other thing is in the charter is it says that voting needs to happen through voting machines. So I know that that's a little archaic, and whether you believe in absentee ballots or not, I think the charter should say elections should be held in a way that's consistent with state statute. So whatever the state statute happens to be at that time, that is how you could vote, because we don't always vote on machines, right? So we vote in other ways. So we can make that consistent. This is a simple thing, but I think in the charter it says that we read the ordinances 3 times in every meeting, and that's causes the meetings to be a little lengthy. I don't think we need to read, how many times we have. If it's a long ordinance, we have to read it 3 times. We're here till 10 o'clock, and I think that could be cut out. And then there's some titles in the charter, and I'm going to give these all to you, but I just wanted to speak to them. So Human Resources Commissioner in the city of West Haven, that's really the Commissioner of Health and Human Services. So in the corporate world or every other world, human resources is personnel. In West Haven, human resources is the title given to the person responsible for elderly services, youth, parks, elderly service, youth, parks. What am I missing? Health. So it's very confusing when I say, well, talk to our Human Resources Commission. People think they have to talk to personnel. So we got to just change that title to be more modern. The other thing is Director of Public Health. I think now by state statute, it allows you to regionalize your Director of Public Health so that we could share. And so we just got to confirm that with our legal team to see if the charter needs to be changed to allow for a regionalization of public health. Because we can maybe share with Orange, or we could share with Milford, or I don't know what the future will bring, but if we're restricted in the charter, then we may not ever be able to do it, right? Until we change the charter again. There's a section in the charter called civil preparedness. I think that's outdated. I think that's equivalent to our emergency services director, right? So Rick Fontana is our emergency services director. I think we have to modernize that. But also, I think we should identify the team that is part of the emergency services coordination. So before any big event, snow, fireworks, festivals, anything that's coming our way that we know there has to be major coordination, we pull together police, fire, dispatch, communications, health, elderly services. I'm leaving somebody out. But I think we should identify the team that should be part of emergency services coordination. So someday when we're not here, and there's going to be an emergency, we have some sort of guidelines as to who should be a part of that emergency planning. Commissioner of Planning and Development, it says in the charter that it oversees grants and a number of other departments. It doesn't, so we need to change that. I also think the boards and commissions that we appoint, first of all, I think it would be nice to invite the chairperson of each board and commission and to see if they want to come and they have input. Some of them have been chair of a particular board and commission for many years, and they might be able to add something, whether it's the chairman of the Board of Health or the chairman of the Police Commission, or, ask what their input is. But I also think that the chairs of the boards and commissions should have a little bit more skin in the game when it comes to weighing in on the budget, right? So they're close to the issues, and I think they have something to lend, and I think we should give them the opportunity. There's also a section in the charter that says initiatives referendum. So my understanding was there is no recall opportunity in the city of West Haven. I know there was a little chatter a couple of years back, and the legal team said that a recall is not allowed or a recall is not legal. But when you read this portion of the charter, it sounds like by a petition, you can petition the council by a certain amount of signers for a removal of an officer or an elected official. So I think we need to clarify that with our legal team and Steve Mennick. Is it allowed or isn't it allowed? If it is allowed, do we want to keep it in there? If it isn't allowed, we want to take it out. Let's see, what else? Well, I'm going to put this together, this list of what I went through. And I still have a few more other areas that I'm waiting on feedback from Steve and both from Kevin Cassini. And but that's a good start. Any questions for me?
Sure.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay, there we go. When I was on the city council, I am almost positive, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, that we were told that the city of West Haven has to have elections every 2 years. We have to. Have you heard that?
No.
You haven't?
I never heard that unless folks were just thinking about the charter, because
Does it say it in the charter? Is that-
I think it says it about the
Is
mayor,
it-
yeah.
But I thought.
So
we were
maybe that's
told
why they were saying it to
statutory-
you.
I thought too, but it was based on more than just. I just got a feeling it was something like statutory wise, or there's something that said we had to do it. But we know that as long as we change the charter and it says that there's nothing. The state of Connecticut says you need to run elections every 2 years.
No, that's why, because the other cities wouldn't have been able to do it. So all these other cities that are going to 4 years from 2 years. So
I didn't know if they had that off year like something else. Maybe the city clerk was every 2 years, so they were doing it or
yeah,
something.
not that I know of, but we'll always double check and triple check. But I don't think so. Yes,
May I ask another question?
sure.
Yes, you may.
So, I can appreciate being told that going to 4 years is going to save the city money, but that's what's the money? Like, what are we actually going to save? Not that we should do it because we're doing it, but if we're saying that, then what's the bottom line? What are the citizens of West Haven going to save by going to 4 years?
I don't know, and I'm not pitching it for a saving.
Oh,
Some
I just-
are pitching it because it will save funding. I don't know, and I don't know. Let's say the mayor in 4 years leaves in 2 years, and there's a special election. You're still going to have an election, or if the council's not for and it's whatever it ends up being
Right.
decided, it might still have an election.
I just thought maybe I know you're not pitching it for that. I just thought maybe that it might have come up in the idea that if everyone went to 4 years, hey, we're gonna save
Yeah.
$100,000 by
Yeah, I think you never know year to year what elections there will be, right? Whether it's a governor and there's a primary election, whether there's a town committee
because we still
election.
have the state election.
We have the state elections. We have a town committee. Fortunately, I don't know Some people think that's good. Some people think that's bad. I particularly don't like all these elections. But you could always ask. We could always ask our registrar of voters to run those numbers because it is.
Yes, no, I want.
It's a
yeah.
consideration. Yeah.
Well, if we change the mayors to a 4-year term, but not the council, we're still going to have an election every 2 years. Correct?
Right. And my other question, because you know I have.
Yeah.
already.
No. That's why I'm
So,
here.
and the it is who I am. My other thought is that if we changed it, can you align it when you do the state, like we have our state elections this year? Can we?
That, I believe, is something that is not allowable through state statute. And I think there's been discussion up at the state to potentially change that. I kind of heard it on the news. I was half asleep. I don't know. But you can't do it today. But
Okay.
we could, yeah, but we could ask the legal teams again. We could
Because if
ask
you're
them.
looking at it, I'm just saying some citizens might look at it for, yeah, it's going to save us money, let's do it. But no, we still have the state elections in there that
Yeah.
drive up the
I think if
cost.
somebody
Not drive
Googled
up
it
the
right,
cost,
if
but
somebody
save
Googled
us
it right
money.
now, they'll see that in the last 2 weeks there was some talk somewhere on some news station.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I have nothing else, I promise.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for the mayor?
Okay, again, I'll put the points in.
Yes.
Steve, did you?
I was curious to know if the Board of Education, that if you wanted to define them as a department, was most of the reason for their spending transparency, or to
Well,
keep a better eye on what?
well, they are a department, but I think sometimes it gets gray because they have those separate, because there's that separate state statute that says the city council can't tell the Board of Ed how to allocate their funding and can't tell the Board of Ed how to hire a superintendent, that everything else is autonomous. That is not correct. They are a department of the city. I think we need to clarify it because then when we say every elected official and employee of every department has to complete an ethics form, that's clear. It's also the Board of Ed. It's not just the city side. And I think the reason, I don't want to speak for Councilman Vargo, he brought it up, is because there is no ramifications right now if you don't follow the charter or you don't follow state statute. For the city side, there is, because there is a board of ethics, a commission of ethics, and anybody in the public at any time can bring a complaint against an elected official or an employee at the city and send it to the ethics commission to investigate. There doesn't seem to be that understanding on the board side. So we just want to make sure that there is some sort of teeth when you have requirements in a charter that there's, so what if you violate the charter? You have to have some sort of ramifications. Well, somebody could, complain ethically. There has to be something in there that holds folks to the rules, our local law. I believe there needs to be more transparency and accountability. We talk a lot about accountability, and it just needs to be tightened up. It's been quite a challenge.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it.
More to come.
Next on our agenda is report by Commission Council or Corporation Council, which no one is here tonight. Or did you have something? I'll give you time, sure.
Thank you. Melly Garthwaite, Council at Large, 22 2nd Avenue. A lot of great points tonight, and I agree with a lot of the points that were made. I do have a few little things that I heard that I didn't hear. One of the things that I want to bring to the attention of the commission is that, I think a 4-year term is a great thing to have. However, I'm a worrier. So I worry that we're not always going to have our great Mayor Boer, right? So Mayor Boer is going to want to go on and do other great things with her life. So I worry who is going to be after Mayor Boer, right? So will this person have all the great qualities? Who knows, right? So I go back to our the work that the 2019 charter revision did. And it's in, if you want to look at it, it's chapter 4, the city manager. And it says under here, the qualifications are a graduate's degree with concentration in public administration, public affairs, public policy, or business administration, and 5 years of municipal management experience. Now, that's great experience for a mayor material, right? So we want to make sure that when we go forward, if we go forward with 4 years, are we going to have someone with that experience? Because to the mayor's point, Mayor Boyer's point, what about recall? Can we recall an election like we had in previous years? We had a lot of things happen in the city that we couldn't control. So I just want to say that I do agree with 4 years. I just worry that if we are to get a mayor down the road that we can't remove, what do we do? So another little bit from the previous Charter Revision Committee was Chapter 5-3, number 1, Director of Public Works shall have minimum a bachelor's degree in public administration or engineering and have demonstrated background minimum of 5 years in public works or civil engineering. And we haven't had a lot of that, right? And so we have the awesome Commissioner Sissick. Thank you, Mayor, for an amazing hire. Are we going to have that in the future? Why can't we put those qualifications in? Because that is one of the most important positions in our city. It is, in my opinion, the backbone of our city. So why not have qualifications in there so that, our Commissioner of Public Works knows how to not only take down a city, but put the city back up again. So that's one of my points. I didn't hear a lot about, actually I didn't hear anything about adding any commissions. And I did talk to Mayor Boyer about this previously. I'd like to see a animal shelter and animal welfare commission put together consisting of 5 members, at least 5 members, hopefully with a 5-year term, because it takes a while to understand what's going on within our shelter, and also animal welfare. They would review the needs of the shelter. They would be kept abreast of any animal welfare issues within the city. They would help promote our shelter animals, and they would help raise funds through a nonprofit not owned by the city. I did talk to the mayor about that, and I have some more material. I don't want to bore everybody with that, so I'll be talking to the mayor privately about that in the near future. I have one other point. Thank you for holding on and letting me speak. I'd really love to see another commission made under the, it's under Section 3 in the Director of Human Resources. Actually, it's Section 4, sorry. It would be controlled by the Director of Human Resources. I'd like to see a Youth Services Advisory Committee. This committee would consist of 5 members, and it would have student representation from grades 7 through 12. It would be sort of like a little bit of an election process for our students. It would give them a glimpse into government and sort of help them understand what's going on in our government, as well as encourage the development of positive youth initiatives and perhaps prevention for different things that are happening within our community. This program would be for anyone that is currently enrolled in our school systems, any of the school systems. And this program, this committee, actually the closest one to us, there is one in Orange. So you could look at the town of Orange in order to see what they've got. It's pretty amazing. It's right on their website. I neglected to mention that the other commission that I was proposing, the closest one to us is actually in Milford. So you have examples in Milford and Orange, two towns, cities close to us. That's it. Thank you all for serving on this commission, and I wish you a lot of luck in your endeavors. And want to say special thank you to former Councilwoman, you'll always be Councilwoman to me, former Councilwoman Hosky, and I know you're going to do great work on this commission. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The mayor has some more comments.
I'm just going to say it here. Save myself some steps. I forgot one of my notes when I was standing up there. And first of all, thank everybody for their input and all your comments. I think they're all great suggestions. On boards and commissions, somebody mentioned earlier about being able to remove somebody who is on a board or commission. Because you don't want that to be gray. And I think one of the things we should look at is specific criteria such as being a resident of the city of West Haven. So I do have challenges where a board or commission member will move out of the city and there's a challenge for me to remove that person. So I think unless the commission specifically has a key person that is to be on the commission that's identified. So for example, sometimes you'll have a commission where it says, a member from the electric company needs to be on. Well, that electric company person doesn't have to be a resident. So unless the board or commission specifically says, points to a person that should be on it, that's from an agency or something else, I think you need to be a resident. So I think the criteria needs to be clear so that the mayor, whoever that mayor shall be, can remove that person.
Thank you, Mayor. Sure.
I wanted to ask, I love the idea about the Animal Shelter Commission, but I don't know, maybe Councilwoman knows, they're not overseeing, the police commission doesn't oversee that as an extension of the police department? They do.
They do. Yep. There's a sergeant in charge of the animal shelter. I would love to do something more with the animals somehow in the shelter, but currently the animal shelter is overseen by the police commission.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Again, the report by Commission Council or Corporation Council. No one is here tonight. Oh, there is? Kevin? Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. I didn't know you. Would you like to get up?
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, we have outside counsel that is spearheading this effort, Attorney Stephen Mednick, who's done this for many other municipalities. He couldn't be here tonight because he is currently in Weston working with that town on some of their issues as well. But going forward, I think he plans to be your first point of contact for whatever it is that this commission decides they want to try to get done. But I'm here for a resource, of course, for the mayor, for any of you who want to stop by, but also for the city council, because the council ultimately will play a role in getting this bridged from whatever comes out of the committee in that report to whatever hopefully ends up on the ballot. And I'm strongly encouraged to see as many people attending tonight, because I know when this was tried in the past, one of the issues that the city had was getting the word out and getting information spread around. So I know the mayor and I are committed to being as transparent about this as we can. We won't have all of the insight into what this board or this body is doing, but certainly helping people find out where to get the information so that they can inform themselves before we get to November is probably the chief way I can offer my services here. With that, I'll tell you that what you all have committed to doing, and you've heard this from Attorney Mednick and probably from others, is aggressive in the time frame. Typically, you have a lot more time to get it done. So I appreciate that you will look at all the possible things that could be done, and then from them pick those which you think could get done in this time frame. And again, I offer my help for anybody who thinks that they could benefit from it to try to either finish those things off and get them over the finish line, or figure out which ones might be best to look at. With that, any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Kevin.
Sure.
Chair's comments. Looks like we have our work cut out for us. Everybody better put on their running shoes when they show up. But I look forward to the challenge, and I look forward to working with everybody on trying to prioritize and pare down and get this done in the time frame that we need it to be. And we will start with next week's meeting. There's a lot of information that we'll put together for next meeting. Things that were said tonight, meeting minutes, and the ideas and the suggestions that everybody had, and then we'll get to work. So if no other comments, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Sure. Yeah.